Welcome, boys and girls. Costin here with a discussion about the future of Total War Warhammer 3 Immortal Empires. Creative Assembly has done a live stream where they've discussed various things about Total War in general. They discussed things about Rome 2, they talked about things with Warhammer 3, with Bashiva especially. They revealed quite a bit of information about that specific DLC pack, what it's going to introduce for Cafe, the change to the technology tree, etc. But that is a subject for a future video. For this one, what I want to focus on is what they've revealed for Lords of the End Times, because they've revealed that we are going to get an Empire Legendary Lord, which was honestly fairly expected. And it is going to be focused on the Cult of Ulric. And it is going to be Boris Todbringer. Now, this is an interesting decision by Creative Assembly. I'm sure many of us would have expected them to do Boris as a free lord and then do someone like Vultan as the paid one. Instead, it seems we're going to get Boris Todbringer as the paid legendary lord as part of Lords of the End Times. And there's going to be other things coming alongside with that focused on Ulric. Like we saw Todbrindger in the live stream that they did. We saw Knights Panther. We also saw the outlines of various other units as well in that video, but they only showed Todbrindger. We might have a sword and shield higher end infantry unit for the Empire, which would be very welcome for them. And we'll see how useful Knights Panther will be. It depends on the details of recruitment, skill lines, availability, changes to the Empire. Because with this specific announcement, they've also made it clear the Empire is going to get further improvement. So we can think about the research tree, we can hopefully talk about the campaign map. They didn't give any details on what they're going to change about the campaign map. This was more of testing, testing the waters for these kind of videos. They talked about a lot of different things in the video itself. And they revealed a bunch of details. But I do think it makes sense. If you're going to have Ulric, then having Boris Todbringer, who is certainly available in the game right now, but they're going to update his model, voice acting, certainly they're going to give him a special skill line compared to what he has right now, like a proper skill line, faction effects, etc. But when we think about it, it does make sense for the elector count of Midland if you're going to have Ulric units for him to be the legendary lord. I would have preferred Vultan, I'm not gonna lie, but there's always the possibility that Vultan could end up being the legendary hero, or they do something else for the legendary hero. Or they leave Vultan out for a future DLC, because they have stated repeatedly, I might add, that they're not done with Warhammer 3. But I do think that they're going big with regards to Lords of the End Times. And it's kind of interesting how they confirmed some of the information that's been out there for a while, because we did expect Ulric units to come in. We did expect the Empire to have a pretty big role in Lords of the End Times. What I am curious about is how we're going to start with Boris Todbringer, because right now he starts with a bunch of tier 1 settlements. Maybe he'll just start at war early on with like the Black Pit Greenskins, who will be occupying much of Midland. But it would be nice not to have to, say for instance, start with Middenheim and then have to go all the way around. But we'll see on that specific situation. Like, some terrain changes would be very much in order. Maybe splitting the province into, I have no idea really on that subject, or maybe just adding multiple settlements here. Because it's a big province, it's a powerful one, but there's a lot of distance to cover. So I'm interested in the specifics of it. But why do I think it makes sense to have the Cult of Ulric? Why do I think it makes a lot of sense for the Empire to be part of Lords of the End Times? Well, if we look at the Imperial Research Tree, that does definitely need an update. But that's just part of it. The more important question with regards to the Empire is this. Just double-clicking too much right there. the big problem is with their infantry roster. See, the Empire has a bunch of low-tier infantry, but none of them are especially that great. I mean, you got spearmen with shields, halberdiers, all that. But essentially, you got 4 units over here that are kind of similar to one another, and none of them is especially good if we consider their actual effects in battle. Like, I'm talking here from a campaign perspective. From a multiplayer perspective, I understand it's a different discussion. But what the Empire lacks from an infantry standpoint, from a campaign standpoint especially, is good, solid, high-end infantry, or even lower-end infantry, that could go in, get the job done, do the damage. Or infantry that could also have durability. Like, I would really like for the Empire to have a heavily armored infantry unit with a lot of armor and a shield. I know that the foes the Empire deals with, typically speaking, don't work with regards to, don't necessarily require shields to deal with them, so that two-handed Teutogen guard is going to be pretty useful. But it's also the question of the odd result. They did mention things about sieges. And cavalry-wise, what, are they going to be a somewhat slightly better version of Empire Knights over here that's available at tier 3? How is that going to fit with Reichsguard? I mean, they do have anti-large attacks, which, yes, I know it sounds ridiculous to think that the Empire does not have a tier 3 cavalry unit that has anti-large. So I'm guessing Knights Panther will fit that role. Like, Knights of the Black Rose will be dedicated in, terms of staying power and melee. Knights of the Blazing Sun will be really good chargers. Reichsguard kind of good all-rounder, and Knights Panther just the anti-cav, or single entity potentially, but really just anti-cav cavalry in quite a few respects. And that can end up helping the Empire roster. But they only showed 2 units, and there's going to be multiple units. There's going to be maybe a new hero? And what that hero would be is a big question, actually, for the Empire. Because we have a lot of heroes for the Empire. We have a lot of mages, we have engineers, maybe some warrior priest variant for Ulric. That would make sense, right? Maybe not as durable, but more damage dealing capability, different abilities over there, but still casualty replenishment. I'm just throwing an idea out there, just to make him more thematic. Legendary hero, big question, right? Because we do have the head of the Cult of Ulric, but we could also talk about Valten, though. That is the big discussion point, really, with Lords of the End Times. Is Valten going to have his day in the sun? They did mention that Boris would have his day in the sun, and he's finally going to get it. I suppose we will find out. That is all I had to say on this subject. Costin signing out, and I'll see you boys and girls on the next one, because there were certainly a good amount of information released in that video, and there's quite a few things to talk about, or in that live stream.